You ever wonder what people mean by feeling your emotions? Most of my life, I had analyzed my emotions, like thinking about them instead of actually like feeling them. It's a very Aquarius thing. But a lot of people do that too because we were never taught how to process them. And emotions are kind of like small children. If you ignore them, they'll be like, hey, 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 and keep coming back until you process them. If you don't, then they crystalline and harden in your body and become very dense. And that's where we find disease, anxiety, depression, where you feel stress and anxiety, something that you didn't process like 10 years ago, right? Maybe you weren't in a safe space to do that too. It's not always like our fault that we don't have the safe space to do that. If we don't process it, it comes up in other ways in our life. If we have a lot of emotions that we haven't processed since childhood, they roll over and then create behavioral patterns and cycles and triggers in our adulthood. So what do we do to process them? Something that I do is when I have an emotion like that come on, whether it's anger, sadness, frustration, like something that's more of like a denser emotion, I will say, hey, I see you. Thank you so much for telling me that you're here. I appreciate that, right? Because you're trying to alert me to something. And in saying that, I'm creating a safe space where that emotion feels like it can process. And you are not that emotion. You are channeling that emotion, just like you channel happiness and joy and bliss and peace and fun and laughter. Like all of these emotions are coming in to go through because we are energy in motion, emotions. So when we validate our feelings for coming up, we kind of separate it from a little bit. We're objectively looking at it. And I kind of like to process them like they are, small children saying like, hey, we're going to feel this together in our body. And I'm going to hold your hand while we do it. And then when we're done, we'll go do something else. But you're still going to have to feel it in your body. So your central nervous system might kick on. You might go into fight or flight, right? But when you sit and kind of do that more objectively, it's easier to allow it to move through. Sometimes we don't always have time to process them. Like that happened to me the other day when I had my body like fight or flight kicking on and I had this really intense emotion of anger. And I was like, hey, listen, thank you so much for showing me that you're here. We don't have time for that right this second, but I will come back to you tonight. We will process through that. And I did. And that emotion felt very safe in me, securing like, I'm going to come back to you and we're going to talk about it. And then when I process it later, I had to feel it viscerally in my body, but then it was much easier to let it flow through.